our whole geography with hundreds of millions of people and with friends of billions. You represent the whole world. Welcome to the 7th Ordinary Grand Congress of AK Parti. Welcome and thank you for bringing your beauties and your love to our Congress. And through you, I would like to greet all of our men and women, all of our youth, all of our citizens whose hearts beat for our country. And through you, we send our greetings to everyone who are working to grow this country, who are working day and night, everyone who is working for our country. And through you, we send our greetings to everyone who is working and producing for themselves and for their country, our workers, our farmers, our shop owners, our entrepreneurs, and our brothers and sisters from every profession. And through you, we send our greetings to all of our citizens, no matter from which sect, which faith they are from, all 84 million people of our country. And through you, we send our greetings to those who helped us since the first day we started working to make Anatolia our homeland. People who sacrificed their futures and their freedoms, all of our martyrs, our veterans, and today, people who are working, all of our heroes, who are working with the same purpose, both inside and outside our borders. So through you, we send our greetings to people who are following this Congress from their screens, all of our friends, our whole nation which is watching us from their screens, whose hearts beat with us. May the blessings and grace of Allah be on all of you and all of them. My brothers and sisters, we start in the name of God, who is the most compassionate, and praise be to God, who is the most compassionate and most graceful, who is the owner of the Judgment Day. We only pray to Him, and we only ask for His help. Please keep us on the righteous path and not on the path of those who have deviated. And please accept our prayers. And please do not turn us empty-handed. As with everything we do, in our struggle to serve our country and our nation, we are starting the first step of the new phase of the struggle, and we start this new chapter by praying to our God, because faith is an important jewel, and hearts without faith are only a burden to the body. In all of our efforts today, and in all of our achievements so far, we were able to achieve this thanks to this perseverance and thanks to this conviction and this faith. And from now on, we will continue walking and making progress and making efforts on the right path, and we will always be ready to sacrifice our lives when necessary. And it's only our God Himself which has no faults and no mistakes, but we, the mortals, of course, have deficiencies and our shortcomings, and we always do and will have. But what matters is to keep our hearts pure, our hearts strong and robust, and to always be on the right direction, and to always show effort, and the rest is up to the grace of our God and the will of our nation. And as long as our intentions are pure, our future will also be clean. And with this understanding, with you, we once again want to present to our nation what we have done and what we plan to do. And on this occasion, I also thank the Nationalist Movement Party and its leader Bahçeli for joining us and walking with us under the umbrella of the People's Alliance on behalf of myself and all of my party members. On the night of July 15th, our nation was the one which established this People's Alliance on the city squares and on the streets. We maintained this alliance in the parliament and in elections, and we have reinforced the fronts of our struggle and we expanded them. No matter from which party, each brother and sister who gave support to the People's Alliance, I thank all of them.
Sağ olasınız. Sağ olasınız. Türkiye'yi önce 2023 hedeflerine.
We will bring Turkey to its 2023 goals first and then to 2053 vision. And hopefully we will achieve this with the People's Alliance. My dear nation and my brothers and sisters, the Grand Congresses of AK Party are occasions where we renew our teams and we review the services that we have delivered so far and where we update our vision. These are festivals of democracy just like the one we are having today. In our first regular Congress in October 2003, we said everything for Turkey and this light will never go off. In November 2006, we had our second ordinary Congress, and in that Congress we said we're the party and the leader of Turkey and we embraced our nation. In our third regular Congress of October 2009, we said we are Turkey together, and that way we embraced our whole country. In September 2012, we had our fourth regular Congress, and we said a great nation, great power, and target 2023. In September 2015, we had our fifth regular Congress, and in that Congress we reiterated our decisiveness for our 2023 goals. In August 2018, we had our sixth regular Congress, and in that Congress our motto was a single nation and a single goal. And today, likewise, we say, walk on the path that you believe in our seventh regular Congress, and we are gathering for trust and stability for this Congress. In all of our Congresses, we have brought our vision even more forward. We have extended our targets and we have strengthened our politics of services and hard work. We believe that politics, not only in the past,
bir siyasetin sadece geçmişte değil, aynı zamanda bugünle.
We believe that politics should not only be limited to what is today or what was in the past, but it should also embrace the hope for the future. We have such a philosophy. When we call the future, this is our grand vision. This is the bridge that we establish from past to the future. It includes the past as well as the present, and it is inclusive especially. And for this purpose, in our belief, we have no place for hopelessness or losing hope for the future. This is equal to disbelieve in our faith. And without knowing our past or without accounting for the present, we can not possibly build the future. Where Turkey is today is the heritage of its glorious history, and between that history and the targets that it has set for its future, we are on this fine line and right in the middle of it. As we convey our plans and projections for the future, we always start from the past, and this is the very reason why we do so.
Büyük rüyalar görmek. Bu rüyaların ardından
Having great dreams and chasing them to make them a reality is what we are ordered by our deep civilization, and this is the top duty of politics, is to make these dreams together with the nation and to keep hope alive and to set targets to build and improve.
milletimiz
Our nation, even though we have gone through many problems, our nation has always managed to keep standing and to always make new leaps thanks to these characteristics. For many centuries, we have ruled 7 different climates and 3 different continents, and we have lost this since many forces of the world attacked us simultaneously, but in our national anthem, we have found a new spirit for a new victory, and those who wonder about this success should look into our civilization, from the single-party regime to coup plans. Even though there have been social, economic crises, and even though there have been regional and global threats, we were able to overcome many difficult challenges with the same philosophy. In the past 19 years, we have made Turkey even bigger in democracy and development. We have worked to make it one of the most developed countries in the world in these areas, and in every step that we took our courage and inspiration from our thousands of years of know-how. Today we are facing one of the most important health crises of near history. The global political and economic system is being shaken from its roots, and there are new searches, and we're going through such a period. Even though our country and our nation is being subjected to many problems, in the past 200 years, our country was kept outside such changes, such major changes, and they're trying to make the same thing today, but this time they are going to fail.
Gençler, çünkü bu defa
because this time there is a different Turkey. This time, regardless of people's roots, their faiths, or their sects, all of our 84 million citizens are a single nation and a single country. And this time, we have a flag which draws its color from the blood of the martyrs. And as a nation, we are dedicated to put the flag on the highest mountains as a single flag. And this time, we have a country which will not even allow plans for a single inch of our homeland. We have a nation which is chanting a single homeland. We have such a Turkey today, and this time we have a Turkey which is protecting the thousands of years of history as the last to make it survive forever. We have a nation, we have a Turkey which is chanting a single country and working hard together. This time we have a nation which is not only protecting what it has, but also trying to claim the position that it deserves in the new global economic and political order with visions of 2023, 2053 and 2071. And this time we have a country which is able to push back all the plans that is being subjected to in the past few years, and a country which is able to overcome all the traps that are laid in front of it, and which is not deviating from its targets. They will not even give us a glass of water even under heavy rain, and those people, those circles are coming up with new impositions every day, but their efforts were not able to deviate us from our path, and I promise that they will fail to do so in the future as well. Turkey is a country, as the folk poet Yunus says, there is a self within the self. In the name of all the values that we represent, in the new global and economic order, we are dedicated to make our country one of the building blocks of this new order. When it comes to what is right, what is fair, what is just, and when it comes to compassion and love and peace, we will bring such a global administration philosophy to the people, and we're preparing to take over such a heritage of civilization, because please keep in mind, when there is faith, there is always a way, and in this belief we open the gates of the 21st century for not only our nation but also for all humanity. We are starting our journey. Are we ready to do this? Are we ready? For a long time, we have been following our roadmap, which is called our 2023 goals, and we will turn them into a new beginning, and we will embrace the 21st century and beyond with a big and strong Turkey. The world is going through turmoil and concerns at the moment, and we are still on a great know-how, a sea of know-how, which can bring solutions to humanity. All ideas and values that are to the benefit of humanity are present in our know-how. The technology is trying to evolve into a world without people, but at such historic crossroads, we always emphasize the natural beauties of people, and we lead the foundation of a new global order. We are ready to take up this responsibility, and hopefully we are going to achieve this as well. Today here, for ourselves and for the whole humanity, we are together in order to make this a reality, and now we have to repeat our commitment so much that people who hear it, the dirt or the concern in their hearts will, or the hesitation in their hearts will go away, and they will renew their love. So let's please stand up.
Hazır mıyız?
Are we ready?
Tek millet diyor muyuz?
A single nation.
Bu ses çok az geldi.
But we're not loud enough.
Çok az geldi. Tek millet diyor muyuz?
A single nation.
Tek bayrak diyor
A
muyuz?
single flag.
Tek vatan diyor
A
muyuz?
single homeland.
Tek devlet diyor muyuz?
And a single country.
Türkiye için
For Turkey,
güven ve istikrar diyor muyuz?
trust and stability.
Büyük ve güçlü Türkiye'yi
A big
inşa
and
ediyor
strong
muyuz?
Turkey that we're going to build together.
Medeniyet nöbetini tekrar devralmaya
We
hazır
are
mıyız?
ready to take over the watch for civilization.
Bir olacağız.
So we will be one.
İri olacağız.
We will be strong together.
İri olacağız. Kardeş olacağız.
We will be brothers and sisters together, and all together we will be Turkey.
Rabbim
And
hepinizden razı olsun.
may God bless all of you.
Buyurun. Aziz milletim, değerli kardeşlerim, biraz önce de ifade ettim.
And sisters, as I have just expressed,
Sağ olasınız, sağ olun.
thank you.
Biraz önce de ifade ettim. Geleceğe bakarken
I
yola geçmişten
I
çıkmamız
expressed
gerekiyor. Hem
before
millet olarak
that
hem
when looking
medeniyet
into
olarak
future, we must
öylesine köklü, öylesine kadim,
leave the path of the
öylesine
past
zengin bir
behind.
maziye
But
sahibiz ki
we have
hepsini
such
anlatmaya
an
kalksak
ancient, such
buna günler,
a rich
haftalar,
and
aylar
well-rooted
yetmez. Bunun
history
için
that
sadece
it would take
önemli dönüm
days,
noktalarına
months,
işaret ederek
years to
ülkemize
break
kazandırdıklarımıza
down all we
gelmek
did
istiyorum.
in the past, but only by summarizing and pointing out to some specific ones, I would like to refer to our history and come back to our
Coğrafyamızdaki
thereupon.
varlığımızı değil, ama mutlak
not our
hükümranlığımızı
existence in our geography,
biliyorsunuz,
but our
Malazgirt
absolute
zaferiyle
rule,
başlatıyoruz.
as you know, took start with the
Malazgirt,
Malazgirt
tıpkı bugün
Massacre
her kökenden,
victory.
her meşrepten,
From
insanımızın
every ethnicity,
milli
from
birliğimize,
every root,
ülke
people
bütünlüğümüze
stood
sahip çıktığı
together,
gibi
and
Anadolu'nun
just
tüm
like today
renklerini
we
ortak
own up
zaferidir.
to our
Sultan
unity,
Alparslan'ın
Malazgirt
kefen
was the
niyetine giydiği
common victory
beyaz
of all.
kaftanı
The
kalpten kalbe, elden ele
white
hiç
gown
yere
of
düşmeden,
Sultan
lekelenmeden
Alparslan
bugüne kadar
has
gelmiştir.
been carried over to
Sınırlarımızı
our
koruyan
day without
askerlerimiz
being
de,
stained
güvenliğimizi
or
sağlayan polisimiz ve jandarmamız da üretimiyle ve emeğiyle
smeared by
ülkemize
anyone.
katkı
It
sağlayan
is
her bir
clear and
insanımız da
pure
Sultan
as a
Alparslan'ın
symbol, and
manevi
every
kaftanını
person
muhafızıdır.
of our
Bu
country,
kutlu zaferden
everyone
hemen birkaç yıl
is a
sonra
guardian
Kutalmış
of
oğlu
this
Süleyman
holy
Şah'ın İznik'te kurduğu,
kaftan,
daha sonra
gone
başkenti
off
Konya'ya taşınan Anadolu
robe
Selçuklu
of
Devleti
Sultan
coğrafyamızdaki
Alparslan,
ilk
and the Anatolian
kalıcı
Seljuks
mührümüzdür.
state
Osman
was the
Gazi'nin
first
Söğüt'te diktiği
permanent stamp
Osmanlı
of
çınarı
our
tam 6
great
asır
nation.
boyunca
And the
Avrupa,
Ottoman plane
Asya
tree
ve Afrika kıtalarında
planted by
medeniyetimizin
Sultan
merhamet,
Osman
adalet
stood
ve refah
tall
bayrağını
as
dalgalandırmıştır.
the flag of
Sultan Fatih'in
civilization,
İstanbul'u fethiyle
mercy,
Osmanlı'nın
justice,
dünya
fairness
tarihinin
for
en büyük
600
devletlerinden biri olma
years,
vasfı tartışmasız
being
bir
one of the
şekilde
greatest
tescillenmiştir.
states of the world
Birinci Dünya
in the
Savaşı'nın
human
ardından
history,
tarihe gömülmek
it has
istenen
been
bu millet İstiklal Harbi'ni
recognized
başarıya ulaştırıp
that the Ottoman
yeni
Empire
devleti Türkiye Cumhuriyeti'ni kurarak bir
was
kez daha ayağa
a
kalkmıştır.
great
Şairin
state, and
göbeğin
then
gel seni tarihe
the
desen
state
sığmazsın
stood tall
diyerek
again
tarif
after the
ettiği
establishment
bu
of the
büyük
republic.
şahlanışın ardından
And
da
following
ülke
this
ve millet
great
olarak
glory,
bizi
our
rüyalarımızdan
nation
uzak tutmak
and
için
our
her
country
yolu denemeye devam ettiler.
was
Türkiye
exposed to
ne
many
zaman demokrasi
intrigues,
ve
and
kalkınma
many
haline
tried
sevdirirse
to diverge us from
karşısına
our path.
içeriden ve dışarıdan nice
Whenever we
engeller
took
çıkartıldı.
action
Rahmetli
for
Menderes'in
democracy
ve rahmetli Özal'ın
and advancement,
çabalarıyla
some
rahmetli
from
Erbakan
within and
ve
outside the
rahmetli
country
Türkeş'in
came up with
dirayetli duruşlarıyla
obstacles,
elde
but
edilen
thanks
kazanımlar
to the
bizi ancak
perseverance
2000'lerin
and
başına
steadfastness
kadar
of the late
getirmeye
leaders
getirdi.
Menderes, Demiral,
Parti,
and Erbakan, and
milletimizin
Özal,
tarih ve medeniyet
we
iddiasının
have come
temsilcisi
to
olarak
this day, and
iktidara
AK Party,
geldiğinde
as the
karşımızda her
representative
şeyiyle
of
tel tel
the
dökülen
nation,
bir ülke var.
indeed took the
Demokrasimiz
power,
yaralıydı.
and when we took the
Kalkınmamız
office,
eksikti.
everything was
Husurumuz
falling apart in the
açıktı.
country.
Ama
Democracy was not
inancımız
consolidated.
ve
Many
umudumuz
things were
dipdiriydi.
missing. We had
AK
lost
Parti,
our hopes.
milli iradenin
But
üstünlüğünü
faith was strong, and AK Party rebuilt the superiority of the will of nation yet again and solidified, consolidated democracy. From health to education, from transportation to sports, in every field, AK Party made the country develop more and more with all investments it materialized. Rather than controversies or unnecessary discussions, AK Party took action. With uninterrupted reforms, AK Party was walking step by step on its path to bring our country over the contemporary civilization's level. And this is best explained through certain figures.
Gençler, şimdi siz
Dear youth,
bana rakamlarla
now
bir tablo çizdiniz.
you have
Ben de hükümetlerimiz
drawn
döneminde
a chart
yaptığımız icraatları
showing
en
certain
özet
numbers,
haliyle
figures
hatırlatmak istiyorum.
for me, and now I would like to remind some of those.
Eğitim,
When we took office,
sağlık, adalet,
health,
emniyet,
justice,
ulaşım
education,
velhasıl
security,
neler yaptık?
agriculture, transportation,
Bunların sözünü verdik.
whereof the
Şimdi
fields we
icraatlarımızı
made
sırayla anlatıyorum.
promises about.
Önce eğitim dedik.
And now let me talk about them.
Bütçede önceliği her
We
zaman
first
bu alana verdik.
attached importance to education and gave priority to education
Gençler, milli eğitim
and
bütçesini,
allocated the
bakın bu
most
çok önemli.
from our budget
Milli eğitim
for
bütçesini
education. The
2002'de
national education
7,5 milyar lira
budget
seviyesinden aldık.
was
2021
7.8
yılı
billion
itibariyle
liras in
147 milyar
2002,
liraya çıkardık.
and we have increased it up to
Nereye?
147
Yüksek öğrenim
in
bütçemizi ilave
2019.
ettiğimizde bu rakam
After adding the high
212
education
milyar liraya
budget,
ulaşıyor.
this figure
Resmi
goes
özel
up
dahil
as
tüm
high as
okullarımızın sayısını
212 billion liras. The number of the
87.677'den
schools, including
88.678'e,
universities,
derslik sayımızı
increased up to
343.000'den
78,000
600.000'e
from
yükseltti.
50,000, and the number of classrooms was only around 300,000 when we took office. However, the figure has been almost doubled.
Her seviyede
The number of the textbooks delivered free of charge to our children is
ücret yok.
tremendous, and we have
Bugüne
delivered
kadar toplam
those textbooks
693
to
bin
each and
öğretmenimizin
every student.
atamasını gerçekleştirdik.
And we so far have appointed more than 600,000 teachers. The education has been reformed into a form of 4+4+4, which made the compulsory education 12 years. The number of the universities increased from 76 to 207. The number of university students increased from 1.5 million up to 8 million.
Katsayı farklılıklarını
And we have facilitated the processes for our students in their access to universities. In terms of the facilitations we have offered for fees and tuition fees and many other relevant payments made. We have done that, and not you, Mr. Kemal. There were some you could remember outcrying in front of the schools making some claims. Those people should first remember who abolished that practice of paying fees for universities. We do also increase the quality of universities as well as the dorms and the number of dorms offered to our students. The scholarship figures, numbers granted to universities was very, very low. When we took office, our students were only granted with 45 liras a month. However, the figure now is much different. For the undergraduate students, it's 650. For graduate students, MA or MS students, it's more than 1,000. And in PhD level, the monthly amount paid for our students is 1,900. We have disseminated this across our country. When it comes to the sports, we have increased the number of sports tracks, the number of semi-Olympic swimming pools increased, and this goes the same for many other complexes and facilities. We have completed the construction of 32 stadia across the country. 11 of them are still under construction, and tender processes are ongoing for the other 4 stadiums to be built. The number of our the figure of our bed capacity increased at our hospitals, and the well-qualified bed figure is also increased tremendously. Mr. Kemal, do you know any of these? To better serve our nation, we did not turn a public tent into a field hospital. We built truly and concretely real hospitals. When we took office, the number of healthcare professionals was only 378,000, but today it exceeds 1 million. The number of physicians was only 92,000 in 2002, and now it stands at 174,000. And the number of ambulances increased. Per capita ambulance, for example, was 107,000 when we took office, and thank God it has been reduced down to 14,000. 9 city hospitals are under construction, and bidding and tendering processes do go on for 3 others. And when complete, totally 32 city hospitals will have been built for our country. Is that all about it? No. There's more to come. For example, a field hospital in Eskişehir in Bangladesh, as we have heard, was on fire, and we will be building a city hospital for our brothers and sisters in Bangladesh. And as far as we're concerned, many homes, many settlement areas also got on fire, and many places, many houses were burnt down. But AFAD, Turkey Emergency and Disaster Management Authority, and our Ministry of Interior Affairs will respond and will collaborate so that we can build hospitals in some settlement areas for our Bangladeshi brothers and sisters. Mr. Kemal, these are the
Sosyal hizmetlerde
signifiers
son
of
18 yılda
humanity,
ihtiyaç
and
sahibi
not only the
vatandaşlarımıza
actions of
411 milyar
AK
lira
Parti.
yaşam tutarda yardım
We
ediyor.
have provided a
Engelli
financial
aylarını
assistance
2002 yılındaki
to
ortalama
our
24 lira
citizens of low
seviyesinden
income.
2021
The
Ocak
salaries paid
itibariyle ortalama
for the disabled
914 liraya
citizens increased up to 914 liras
2002 yılında
on a
sadece
monthly basis. When
5777
only
iken bugün
around
58 binin üzerinde.
5,700
2002
disabled
yılında
were
aylık
employed
24 liradan
at
aldık.
public
2021 Ocak ayı itibariyle
positions, civil
763 liraya
posts.
yükseldi.
This figure
Net
has been
asgari
tripled.
ücret
The
2002
minimum
yılında
wage in 2002 was only 184 liras, but as of the beginning of this year, it has increased up to 2,825 liras. Justice is one of the fields that we attach priority to. The number of judges, prosecutors increased by 76%, and we have strengthened the human capital capacity of our jurisdiction system. The number of the judges and prosecutors, despite the damage caused by the FETÖist terrorists, has increased up to 21,000. 15 first instance courts and other administrative courts came operational to ensure that the laws are practiced well and function perfectly. We have renewed many structures and holes, and we have renewed the Constitutional Court, and we have indeed built the Constitutional Court in the best way possible. And now we are constructing a building for our Court of Cassation, which will be unique. You know, back in time in Turkey, there was, if you will, justice or judgments passed around, but passed around in weak structures, but now our prosecutors, judges and lawyers will be able to work at ease with all those opportunities offered. With all these construction made, we are exerting efforts to provide the best physical setting for the members of our jurisdiction system. And reform has always remained in our agenda. A few weeks ago, we shared our human rights action plan and made it public knowledge. And we also expressed that we have commenced working for the new and civilian constitution, as we have placed our pledges. Attaching priority to our nation's will has always been in our agenda. Our gendarmerie, our law office, enforcement officers, our intelligence agents are working day and night relentlessly for the peace, prosperity and security of our country and our people. Starting with PKK, I have to say we have disappointed all terror groups and made it impossible for them to engage in action in our country, in Gabar, in Tendurek, in Besler. Our soldiers, our police officers, our rangers, our law enforcement task groups fought bravely, and with the struggle they have put up, they have made many to be called to account, and those who were engaged in ill business have been paying the half the price of what they did, and they will continue to pay. So these all have not been possible fait accompli, but it was possible through the strengthening of our structure from the legal system to the security and safety system. We have established mechanisms for our local administrators, such as our muhtars, the neighborhood administrators, and we have given them many opportunities. And now what is Mr. Kemal saying? He says that he will be appointing some private secretaries for their muhtars. Let them do so. We have been already supporting our muhtars, our local governors, local administrators, all the way possible. In transportation, for example, over the past 19 years, we have made an investment of more than $900 billion and renewed the infrastructure of our country all over. The length of the divided roads increased up to 28,000 kilometers, and the highway length increased up to 3,500 kilometers. The number of the tunnels increased up to 438 from only 83 when we took office. The number of bridges and viaducts increased, and the length of those increased up to more than 700 kilometers from only 300, some 300 kilometers. Eurasia Tunnel, Marmara, Ilgaz, July 15, Independence Tunnel, Ergenek, Can Kurtaran, Sabuncubeli, tunnels are some of monumental projects we take pride of, and they have a special place in our hearts. North Marmara Highway, Chandarlı, Ankara, Niğde highways also have been built and included into the scope of our transportation network. Çanakkale 1915 bridge connects many highways, including Ankara-İzmir highway. In railways, we have built a speed train network, and the existing railway network of our country indeed have been rebuilt from scratch and refurbished, and in Ankara, Başkent Rail, in Istanbul, Gebze Halkalı suburban train line, and many other subway lines in many cities have been built. In airports, we have taken important steps. The number of the airports when we took office was only 26, but we have built additional 30 new airports and increased the total number up to 56. Our foreign destination increased, and the number of countries our country flies to also increased up to 156. Turkey is one of the biggest and most advanced airways network capacity holder of the world, and the number of our docks, also ports increased. Filios Port, Lise İldere Port, Haliç, Datça, yacht ports are under construction. The number of the broadband subscribers was only 3,000 when we took office, but this figure has increased up to 84 million, 85 million. The number of also the fixed stable line subscribers increased up to 85 million. In environment and urbanization related activities, the number of the wastewater treatment facilities was only 145. But this figure increased. The number of the dwelling houses built by and through Turkey now stands at a figure of 1 million. We have also built many national gardens. 9 new of them are under construction, and for 48 other people's gardens we have tender processes ongoing. Agricultural national gross income was 133 billion liras last year. And the amount, the financial assistance we have provided to our farmers has come to a figure of 133 million. Due to the climate conditions, other than some products that are limited in production, Turkey is definitely not an external party-dependent country in agriculture. Our fruit production increased by 76%. Our dairy and meat production also grew by almost twofold last year. Our forestry area increased from 21 million hectares to 23 million, and the conserved areas was around 176, but now it has exceeded the figure of 600. The number of our dams increased up to 876. The number of potable water facilities increased up to 346. The irrigation facilities increased. The number of facilitation irrigation activities increased up to 3,221. According to purchasing power, Turkey used to rank the 17 in terms of purchasing power, but we have brought our country to the rank of 13.
Dünyayı kasıp kavuran salgına rağmen geçtiğimiz yıl %1,8 büyümeyle
we grew by 1.8% last year, and we were the second among developing countries in terms of growth. When we came to office, interest payments were 86% of our total payments, and we were able to drop it to 16% last year. In European countries, it is around 90%, or in developed countries, the debt stock is around 130%, but we were able to keep it at 42%, the ratio of debt to national income. Our exports were taken from $36 billion and were increased up to $170 billion. Every year, we make new records in our export volumes, and we continue making progress in this area. In the past few days, there have been fluctuations in the markets, but this does not reflect the real potential and the strong fundamentals of Turkish markets and its future. The Turkish industry had great performance during the pandemic, and it was able to prove its resilience and strength once again. When it comes to public finance and finance areas, our indicators are more robust compared to many developed and developing countries. A short while ago, we announced our reform program in economy, and the policies and the timeline was made public by yesterday. And now it is time to work harder and to produce and to hit the gas and to go towards our targets against attacks which do not come from real finance. We should side with our country, and I'd like to thank all of the citizens of our country for siding with us and protecting this message of trust and stability.
Sadece kendilerini güvende hissetmek amacıyla
just to feel more secure, some of our citizens are keeping foreign currency and gold in their homes, and I would like to make a call to these citizens from here. Our national wealth includes the foreign currencies and gold that they keep at home, and by investing them into different financial instruments, they should bring it back to the financial systems. Financial organizations, especially participation finance organizations, are able to offer returns which can satisfy their savings owners, and for business people until 30th of June the wealth piece is going to continue, and to them I would like to remind that they could repatriate their wealth which is overseas. There is no need for any concerns, and we are guarantors for this for them. And for everyone who invests in our country, especially international investors, they should continue trusting the potential and the power of Turkish economy, and there are concrete indicators of this call already. Last year, for instance, the number of new offices and new companies opened in our country was around 100,000, but the ones which closed was below 16,000. When it comes to ease of business index, we were the 84th among 170 countries, but in the past, but yet by last year we were the 33rd among 170 countries, which was a progress upwards. Between 2010 and 2020, 75,000 new companies were established in Turkey with international capital, and more than 11,000 with a total of $39 billion. They continued their activities last year despite the pandemic. So I would like to ask from here, which international investor would come to a country that they don't believe in the future of and establish a company there and establish partnerships with the citizens of that country? And similarly, in our country, we have more than 200,000 international students studying from almost every country of the world, and I'd like to ask, which parent would be able to send their children to a country that they don't trust, or of whose trust and of whose security and safety they wouldn't be sure of? And even though there are certain circles inside our country which are claiming that we're being destroyed, we're dying and we are sinking, they are, even though they're in a race to slander their own country, you should not listen to them. They are the ones who try to gain power from the weakness of their own country, and they are full of hatred in their eyes. They are incompetent, but they are still aggressive. And Turkey draws its strength from the robust infrastructure of its economy, from its manufacturing and its competent human resources, from its entrepreneurs, its exporters, and in summary, from its real economy. We have a dynamic financial structure, a fiscal discipline, and with our reliance with free market economies, we are resilient towards every kind of shock, as we have proven many times in the past. And in the future, the Turkish economy, when it comes to investment, manufacturing, employment, and exports, we're going to grow our economy on these four pillars, and we are going to make more progress. In foreign politics, we are going to we have strengthened the tools that we have, and we have diversified them. In the past, for instance, we had limited exposure in Africa, Latin America, or Asia, and we have initiated new opening initiatives for these geographies. geographies. For instance, in 2002 we had 160 foreign missions. We were able to raise it to 250, and we are one of the top 5 countries with the broadest foreign representative network in the world. We will leave no place where our flag is not represented. We will continue increasing our exposure in all different corners of the world.
Değerli kardeşlerim, ülkemizin milli menfaatlerine saygı
Brothers and
gösteren
sisters,
hiçbir ülkeyle çözülemeyecek
we have
sorunumuz
no
olmadığını
issues with any country which respects our rights and freedoms and interests of our country, and in the future we will increase the number of our friends and eliminate the conflicts and turn our region into an island of stability. And all the steps that we have taken so far were for the same goal. In Syria, when all forces were turning their backs to the victims of the war, we opened our hearts and our gates. And from Daesh to YPG and PKK, many terror groups brought suffering and blood to this ancient land, and in order to bring peace and stability to this geography, we have used all of our means. We carried out cross-border operations in order to save millions of victims from being massacred by terror groups or by the regime. For the political stability and territorial integrity of the country, we have frankly and constructively supported all efforts. Syria until Syria becomes a place which is ruled and administered by Syrians, we will maintain our efforts and will continue siding with the people of Syria.
Bir başka önemli dış politika açılımımız Libya'daki meşru hükümetle
Another important foreign policy initiative was the agreement about maritime zones that we signed with Libya, and with this agreement the rights of both the Turkish and Libyan publics on the natural resources in the Mediterranean were taken under guarantee, and we were able to overcome the plans which were made to exclude Turkey and Libya in the Mediterranean. We have lended support to the legitimate government of Libya, and we were able to disappoint the circles which had negative intentions for this place, and thanks to the support offered by Turkey, Libya once again is able to have hope for its future, and it is able to run democratic processes. And in the future we will continue supporting our brothers and sisters in Libya. Close to 30 years ago, Nagorno-Karabakh, and this is important to use, 30 years ago, the Nagorno-Karabakh and Azerbaijani land, the 1/5 of Azerbaijani land was occupied, which led to massacres, and with our brothers and sisters in Azerbaijan, our hearts felt sorrow for this as well. Under the name of the Minsk Trio, those who tried to solve this issue only made the issue more complicated in the past 3 decades, and they achieved nothing else. Our Azerbaijani brothers during this process have always waited for the crisis to be solved with peace and mutual agreement. But despite this, the Armenian side continued its attacks from time to time and blocked all channels of dialogue. And in the final months of the previous year, the Armenian army started attacking again, and this time, as Turkey, with all of our means, we sided with our Azerbaijani brothers. And thanks to the support of Turkey and the heroism of the Azerbaijani army, a legendary struggle was made, and this dirty occupation was thankfully ended.
Türkiye, Azerbaycan kardeşliğini
The brotherhood between Turkey and Azerbaijan was strengthened, and in order for this conflict to be solved in line with the agreement, we will continue following up the issue. From the US to Russia, from EU to Arab geography, we have improved relations with all parties in line with the interests of Turkey and the expectations of our nation, and will continue shaping our relations accordingly. In Africa, we are in the center of 3 continents, and we cannot turn our backs neither on the west nor on the east. We don't have this luxury. Countries which are in competition or in tension with each other, we were able to establish coherent and long-running relations. Of course, we know that this is not an easy task, but Turkey, because of its geographical location and economic interests and the inclusive foreign policy, Turkey has the power and resilience to achieve this. In industry and technology, in the year 2002, we had 192 organized industrial zones, but we were able to build 133 additional ones to bring the total number to 350. 22 industrial zones, 70 technoparks, 1,200 R&D centers, 360 design centers were also established in the past 2 decades. We have started the space agency, and we have announced our space program with the public, showing our ambitions in this area. We have also started the construction of a local automobile, and by the end of 2022, hopefully the factory will start operating in the service of our nation. In the defense industry in 2002, we only had 62 defense projects, and today the total number is 750. And you can see the progress that we have made. The budget of our defense projects budgets increased from $5 billion to a total of $75 billion. And similarly, in our defense and aero exports was able to increase from 250 million to over $2 billion. In energy, our total installed capacity when we came to office was 31,000 megawatts, but it has been increased to 96,000 megawatts. We were able to achieve this, and we were the ones who made this possible. Thanks to projects like TANAP and TürkStream, our country will become an important energy hub in the region. In the Sakarya Basin, in the Black Sea, in the Tuna 1 drill, we have discovered new natural gas reserves, and in order to make it available to our nation, our efforts continue. When it comes to nuclear power, we made Turkey one of the few countries which are able to generate nuclear power, and with Russia, our construction of the Akkuyu nuclear facility continues, and in the year 2023, generation will start in the first reactor. In culture, we have sites which are in the global heritage list. We were able to increase them from 9 to 18, and cultural centers from 42 to 118. And the total number of monuments and artifacts brought to Turkey from abroad was increased from 250 to over 4,000. Our TV series and movies have become a culture ambassadors in the world. In 200 different countries, 600 million people are able to watch Turkish series and movies. We have renovated monuments from our ancestors to a total of 5,000 monuments. Through organizations like TİKA or Yunus Emre Institute and similar government agencies, we opened to the whole world. The number of tourists which visit our country was only 13 million in 2002, and we were able to raise this number to 52 million, and our tourism revenue was raised to $35 billion. Because of the pandemic, last year 16 million tourists visited our country and our revenues were $12 billion. But hopefully, even though that was the case last year, in the future we are going to increase the number of tourists visiting our country up to 75 million. As you can see, I tried to summarize every area with a few points only, but still there is a long list of services that we have rendered for our country in the past 18 years. There are hundreds of thousands of other services which are all very bright and very important that we can list here. And one of them is the opera building in Ankara. We were able to make that building and open it to visitors, and similarly our building for the conference center, and similarly in Istanbul the Atatürk Cultural Center, as it used to be known, is almost complete, and hopefully it will be completed on the 29th of October of this year, and it will be the top opera building in our country at the Taksim Square in Istanbul. And of course, in addition to all of these, many other monuments when it comes to culture, important buildings are being opened. For our targets in 2023, and for adapting to the changing needs of the world and our country, we are always devising new programs and new projects and making preparations. For instance, we are currently working for a new and civilian constitution. We have such principles on our agenda. We have law and economy reforms on our agenda. We have family, education, culture, and such a new national awakening and rising commitment. We have foreign policy on our agenda without compromising on the rights and freedoms and interests of our country, the basic parameters of our political stance, as well as the global order which is going to be reshaped after the pandemic, and Turkey's position to assume in that new order. And on our agenda we have overcoming the traps laid for us one by one, and from security to economy to development, we have our roadmaps which will bring us to victory. We have on our agenda the hypocrisy of those who cannot call terrorists as terrorists, or we have those circles which try to protect women's rights, not in consciousness but on paper only. And we have on our agenda the circles who send our women to the mountain and they still can claim that they're protecting the rights of women. For instance, there are mothers weeping in Diyarbakır, and there are those who are not able to say anything about this discussion. We have a lot to tell them. We have the double standards which our country is being projected to, and there are those who are calling this the search for rights. Even though we have fulfilled all of our commitments, we have on our agenda those who turn their backs on Turkey and their insidiousness. And on our agenda we have terror groups like PKK to FETÖ or Daesh, those who cooperate with terror groups and their weaknesses. On our agenda we have those who are attacking us, and despite all the attacks and the burden of the pandemic, and we have on our agenda the help and support that we made available to those who were victimized by the pandemic and the attacks, which means for our present and for our future we have every issue on our agenda. We can talk for hours on every topic which we have here on this list, and the AK Party Congress is the right place to do so. But under the pandemic conditions, just like our provincial congresses, we were not able to bring everyone to this great hall because we had to consider your health and the health of all participants. And for that reason, today we are only talking about a few short topics, and we are leaving other issues to other occasions where we can come together with our nation. And first of all, a new and civilian constitution. Our approach, I'd like to share with you in very brief. Turkey, for almost 2 decades, has been searching for a new constitution, but was not able to devise a constitution or a text which can be embraced by everyone in full confidence. In all of our constitution works, we were imposed by extraordinary conditions during extraordinary times. Our nation was not fully convinced in these constitutions because the texts which emerged out of such periods were open to discussions and conflicts since the first day, and they always wanted to be changed. Our current constitution was first shaped by the coup in 1960, and after the 1980 coup it was reshaped and presented to our nation to take it as is. The coup crushed people who were tired of terrorism and were being crushed by economic difficulties, and this constitution had to be approved under the threat of guns, and it is the work of the tutelage forces that prepared this constitution. When we look at our constitution history of 2 centuries, we see a new constitution at every quarter century. For instance, the current constitution was ratified in the 1980s, and it has been 29 years since then, which means this constitution has fulfilled its lifespan, and during this time period the constitution has changed to the level where every single provision has been changed so far, and still it is not a text which is able to embrace everyone in the country. When we look at the world, we see that constitutions are now changed more frequently. Constitutions are not changed for many years in certain countries, and they owe this to having more abstract and simple texts. It is time for Turkey to have a new and civilian constitution, especially by discussions. This is a requirement of our own history, as well as the conditions, the changing conditions of the world and our country. Our offer for a new and civilian constitution is receiving shallow objections from certain circles, but it is accepted by everyone else. What kind of a constitution do we want? And when we look at from our viewpoint, there is only one answer to this question. It is whatever kind of a constitution our nation wants to be ruled with, and that is the kind of constitution we would approve. So in the spirit of this new constitution, there should be our nation, which means our people. And in the center of this new constitution, there should be the happiness and wealth and prosperity of the people. And with all the values, differences, diversities, and the dreams, it should encompass all of our 84 million citizens. In the core of this new constitution, there should be the strength, the security, stability, the gainings and the targets of our country. This new constitution should prosper the people, cherish the people, so that the state can be cherished as well. It should be built with this philosophy. It should draw its inspiration from our glorious history, and it should face the future of our country, and it should reflect the will of our country to live together and to build their futures together. It should be a vision statement which will last centuries. As the poet Cemil Meriç says, it should encompass a glorious, it should link a glorious history to a glorious future. It should establish such bridges. The new constitution should not be the constitution of certain circles, certain balances, or coup platters, or tutelage, but it should be the constitution of the nation. Of course, it should not be utopical or dreamlike, but it should be realistic based on our nation. Of course, it's not easy to prepare such a constitution, and we have had certain attempts in the past, but unfortunately the political climate was not conducive, so our efforts were always incomplete. But the constitution experience in 2011 brought important gainings to our country. Turkey today, for a new constitution, is more ready than ever. And in line with this framework, under the presidency at the AK Party head office and in academia and at certain NGOs, there are different efforts that we follow closely for this area, and other political parties and institutions have similar preparations, as we are aware. These should be principles and concrete texts at a later stage, and at a certain point they will be brought together and they will be open to discussion under the observation of our nation. The new constitution will be the product of an open and transparent process. In the efforts for a new constitution, we aim to reach this at the first first quarter of the next year, and the new constitution text should be presented to the approval of our nation and will be prepared by the broadest consensus possible. So when it comes to the new constitution, I would like to make a call to everyone who will assume responsibilities, including political parties. We should put aside our personal, ideological, or group interests and baggages. We should put our interests and reservations aside, and we should prepare a constitution which has the text and the spirit which will carry Turkey for at least a century. We are ready to do so. The new constitution should be auspicious for our country and our nation. Another point that I would like to emphasize is the engine of our policies in the future: family, education, and culture. We are people, we are humans, thanks to our hearts and our brains, and they're both open to constant development. Education for our minds and families for our hearts, and for both of them our culture are shaped by these. When we look at historic realities and our civilization, they are fed from this climate, and prosperity emerges out of this. When you look at societies which have lost their family values, they only try to maintain, they cannot maintain their presence and their existence with numerical development. The Western societies, for instance, they have financial means, and they have, even though they have education and culture that comes from the economic power, because of the loss of their family values, they are fearing for their future, and they are actually in a crisis concerning their future. Our citizens, our nation has been attacked many times over the years, but we were still able to stand thanks to the resilience of our family structures. No matter what the conditions are, we're always one, we're together, and family members always show solidarity with each other and have overcome every social and economic hurdle. Urbanization has increased, the ways of work have changed, levels of education have increased, and life life conditions have become more complex, and because of this there is a transition from broader families to more nucleus families, but we were still able to preserve our families. With the spread of television and internet, there is a culture climate which is starting to besiege us in order to push us from nucleus families to individuals. This imitation of others is trying to replace our ancient values, and we see this in the most concrete way in our families. We see that the average age of marriage is reaching 30s, and there are more young people who are never getting married, and there are more families with one or maximum two children, or there are families in which both parents work, and if there is no grandparent living nearby, children are only taken care by the caregivers at home or in kindergartens. There are certain values which can only be given by families, and it's not possible to replace them by services that are taken from outsiders. In schools, both education in both education and teaching, there are significant shortcomings and gaps, as we can observe. Rather than taking our minds and hearts as the guide, information only based on self and on intelligence is not sufficient for our children, because this would drive us away from what is right, and from wisdom, and from justice and philosophy. New generations should be raised in families, which is the guarantee of our thousands of years of existence. They should be fed from such values and from education received in schools. This picture, since young children are void of these, this shows that we should make our new investment for education and our families. If we are to overcome the watch for civilization, this is where we should start. Of course, there are technological, cultural developments in the world. Of course, we're not detached from realities in order to turn our backs on such developments. We believe that in our civilizational values, we should take people with their minds and their hearts. We should take our inspiration from our past, but we should be always new and raise our civilization this way. We should not imitate, but rather produce. We should not imitate others, but rather be imitated. We should not aspire but be aspired. We should not submit ourselves to the time, to the present, but we should rather shape the future, and we should raise generations which can establish links from the past to the present. And for that, first and foremost, we must secure our families. And we should keep in mind that everything follows these three, so we should shape our families, our education, and our culture.
Aziz milletim, değerli misafirler, dünyanın koronavirüs salgınının etkileri altında
Dear guests, the world is suffering under the pandemic, and as Turkey, we have prepared our vision for the post-pandemic world. With the choices that we have made during this period, we have prepared a world for our children. And of course, at this point, we have expressed for a long time now that the world is bigger than 5. We reiterate this point and this request on every occasion, including the Security Council of the UN. In global management centers, there are imbalances and injustices which bring with them lethargy and lack of trust. We want a reform hastily prepared and quickly prepared and put into practice, which redefines all of them. The new global security system should not focus on the permanent interests of 5 permanent members, but should rather represent different regions and shared interests. Otherwise, the system will not be able to produce solutions to the problems and cannot gain widespread legitimacy. During the pandemic, the developments have shown to us once again the correctness of these points and the rightness, the correctness of our country. For instance, Rumi tells us that there is many hope after hopelessness and many suns after the darkness. And we have shared all of our means with the rest of the world, and we have backed our words with concrete steps. Our wish is that what has been experienced during the pandemic will be eliminated, global weaknesses be eliminated, and the pandemic will be a milestone for this. Strong countries should not be the ones with a lot of money, but rather countries which can offer the best service to their citizens when they need it. And this fact has been seen more clearly during the pandemic. During our governments, we have established a strong infrastructure and a strong capacity. So from health to food, we have displayed leadership in every area, and we have demonstrated how strong of a country we were. The global system should be renewed based on the experiences gained during the pandemic in a way that will gain the trust of whole humanity. The world after the pandemic should be more livable for everyone, and for this purpose we have to achieve this. Political, economic, and military areas have started showing certain signs in new competitions which can further the problems caused by the pandemic. Trust and reliability. We want trust and reliability for not only our country, but also for all others, and we're preparing for the post-pandemic world. Today here we are giving out a message of unity, togetherness and brotherhood, and this picture is an expression of this dedication. And may God help us in this regard, and with such sentiments, once again I greet you, and I wish that our 7th Grand Regular Congress will be auspicious, and once again I congratulate the members of the Central Administration Committee. I invite them to our head office. Our first meeting will be held there at the party headquarters. And at the moment, currently it's 1 p.m. here. And at 5 p.m. we will convene at the head office of our party. And of course, during the time, the council will continue working here. I wish God's grace and help and support for all of you. Thank you, and peace be with you.
Sayın Cumhurbaşkanımıza konuşmalarından dolayı teşekkür ediyoruz.